The go live button. Yes, it was. I just saw it. Mikey? I've just muted you. No, can't hear you. Hello, Mikey. You can't talk back to me right now, so let's agree on who is the best. I think it's me. If anyone disagrees, say now. I guess it's me. Hi, everybody. I hope you're all having a fantastic... What day is this? Wednesday. We've been very busy doing stuff. Are you audible yet?
I should be audible in a few seconds.
I'm having to wait for the delay to see he's audible.
Yes. I can see my thing bouncing up and down. I swear I sorted this out last week, but obviously
yes, you're
I did
audible.
not.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. How is everybody?
Let's see who we've got here. We've got Jelly. Hi, Jelly. We've got Daz. Hi, Daz. We've got Pakosh. Hi, Pakosh. And we've got Roderick. Hello, Roderick. And we've got more people. Hello, more people. It's a big week for us.
Yes.
Before we go any further, Mikey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. I'm a little bit disappointed, unless when I log in again right now, we've had someone amazing.
We've had one backer with way more money than sense. That's fine.
No, it's fine. So we've got about 15 minutes to go at the moment on the Kickstarter, and we are not at our goal, which is sad.
It is sad. Although we already knew it was possibility, and we did mention this right at the beginning. I mean, apart from being a small company and everything else, there is a pandemic. People don't have that kind of ready cash. We've had a lot of support, and even people who don't have the cash available have been supporting us whichever way they can.
Yeah.
That's great. We have a plan going forward. Mag Race is not dead. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yep.
Mikey's been doing some great work planning while I've been doing Cody things. So I think Mikey should be in charge of the schedule.
Okay. One of those two. Well, we're universal, so it makes sense to say both words. So first of all, I'm going to call it at this point. If suddenly in 15 minutes someone donates £7,500, then I'm quite happy to revoke everything I'm about to say. But sadly we haven't made it to the goal. However, as Yann was saying, we want to thank everybody. The support has been amazing. Regardless of not reaching that goal, we've learned an absolute ton. Whether you've supported financially or just spreading the word, whatever way we've gone with it, it's just been brilliant.
Or just helping us with the bug fixing. I mean, to be honest, until we launched that demo and we realized no one with an AMD card can get above 10 frames per second, that was pretty big, and we would not have found that.
So to play testers as well, I hope you've enjoyed the game.
And Malacon.
Hey! Hi, Chris. So, what of Mag Racer?
Well, but first, I need to answer a very important question. My headphones are Akai, which is Japanese for red, I believe. Although they're not red. They were on Amazon. And they're quite good. I like them a lot.
The cable is red.
The cable is red.
There we go.
Hi, Jessica. What of Mag Racer? Okay, so the current plan with Mag Racer is we are shifting this from a course to more of a passion project. We all enjoy working on Mag Racer. In fact, we've had extra people wanting to get on board with that over the past few days.
We'll talk
about that in a second. It's very exciting. But currently, we don't really have the justification to turn it into 3 to 6 months work of not producing anything else, just making this for a course.
Definitely, yeah.
So, here's the plan. We are aiming to release this as more of a passion project / indie game. We will be doing this part-time. And to justify how much work we can do, we're planning on doing a certain amount as a company, a certain amount per week. We're going to be running a Patreon so people can support us, and then we can justify spending more or less time per month, depending on what the support's like. We can't really justify moving away from our core business model, because if we have 2 years of no income while we make a great game, I don't know how to finish that sentence.
Well, it boils down to real life. We need to feed ourselves.
I mean, honestly, I would love to release free content for people to learn from.
Yeah,
but I have to pay rent.
So we're thinking about a couple of ways of approaching it. We'll finalise this in the next week or so. Were we talking about Monday earlier? Next Monday? We'll be talking about potential ideas moving forward, but it's a bit nebulous. But we do want your feedback on to whether or not it could be an open project where people can contribute to the project, thus enabling things like assets to be made quickly. Obviously, they would have to be signed over so we can use them and all the rest of it. But we were also thinking about anything that's made from this project in the background also becomes not just for us to use, but for the wider community to use. So it's more like an inspiration and a springboard.
Well, first, let's talk about Newer. We've been contacted by this amazing sound production team, Newer. They contacted us about a week and a half ago. And they were really interested in doing very good sound. Well, they're interested in doing sound. We think they're very good sound. And music for the game. Originally, they were talking about, maybe we could use Fmod with Godot, but that's a weird plugin that you have to sort of compile, I think. But they want to make some high-quality sounds for the thing. I don't think we can give their stuff away for free.
No, certainly not.
We would have to check that with them.
Yeah.
So not everything that goes in would be like that. There is a problem with making this an open project, potentially. Not necessarily, but there's maybe not a problem. Opportunity, which is someone has to administer that.
Yes. It will be a bit
before Mikey promises, hey, do you guys want to do this open or not? Let's just say we're just testing the water here. This isn't a thing. Although,
do shout out if you guys want to become a project manager for a free project.
If you guys want to interview to become a project manager for a free project, before you do that, that's a lot of work.
You keep swaying in the frame, Yann. You're very adamant. I'm going to keep moving you around until you're either still or I get bored from doing it. Have you had too much coffee? Is that the problem?
I know those words. I don't understand that question.
Oh, too much coffee. Right, yeah, no such thing.
Okay, so I'll try and stay still. I'm on a swivelly chair this week, so it's different. As for what Mag Race is going to look like, we're planning... Well, at some point, we need to redo the vehicle assets because they're much higher poly than they need to be. And they've got a whole bunch of things like internal faces that were never meant to go live, which means we have to redo all the textures. So we'll be looking at how to do that. I want to add in some more.
When we say never meant to go live, they were chucked in there as placeholder assets, basically.
Yeah, they're not production ready. They were never meant to be production ready. We never thought they were production ready. Which means we need to redo textures because we'll have a whole new set of UV maps to make.
Yeah.
I want to put in more levels. We want to put in some more complete AI, some more weapons, some better sound and music coming in. The test stuff they said is just sort of first pass. Sounds awesome.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Really. So there's a bunch of things I want to put in there. I'd like to put in better customization, better things. So we've got a sort of roadmap to where we want to go with this game. But the idea is we're turning this into a game. Now, it might be in a few months when the world calms down, there's a vaccine, everyone's back at work, etc. We might be in a position where we say, okay, do we turn this into a course now?
Yes.
But failing that, the idea is to go forward with just let's turn this into a game. People can pledge. We'll go with that. This time next week, I'm looking to launch a Patreon, at which point we'll finalize what the pledges look like, what you guys would get for that pledge. I mean, primarily what you're doing is you're helping us spend time on this game. But we want to make sure that, you get some rewards for it. We want to be very careful what we promise, because if we promise things like, we'll make you a new ship every month, that's quite a big promise if 7 people want that. Same with things like one-to-one tuition. One-to-one tuition is incredibly expensive, just in terms of how much work it takes. Making a course that's 40 hours long will take months, but you'll reach thousands of people.
Yeah.
Reaching thousands of people one at a time.
It takes a while.
Takes that.
Yeah, exactly. But saying that, we've learnt so much through the process of working on this project, both asset-wise, code-wise, also marketing-wise. We've learnt a lot about, perhaps we should have got the prototype game out there before we press go on the Kickstarter, all that sort of stuff. So we've learnt an absolute ton that we're going to implement learning-wise in a lot of the future stuff that we do, regardless of whether or not this has been a success. I would call this a success itself because of what we've learned from it.
Oh, absolutely. And to be honest, even the coding things I've learned, how to manage a much broader thing where other people coming in. It's one thing making a code yourself that's got a little bit of spaghetti code, a little zombie code, some badly named variables. But then you say, Bask, can you help me with this? And he takes one look at your code and goes, not yet. And there's other things like more graffiti, more decorations, more teams, more signs, making these levels come together. Really spend the time to make this not so much here's a tech demo and how to make this, but here's something worth playing.
That makes a lot of sense.
I want to keep the demo up, but I'm wondering if the latest build or upcoming builds would be Patreon exclusive or not. I'm not yet sure of that. And it might be that it's open for a little while until it's big enough, then we start closing it down.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, we're all ears on that. So have you guys got any questions on that? I want to really compartmentalize this evening rather than go, and this one other thing. So the Kickstarter itself is drawing to a close. There will not currently be a Mag Racer course. There are some plans for spin-offs. Would you call it a spin-off, but they're smaller in scope?
What I'm thinking is a much smaller, few hours long course on how to set up things like that magnetic track.
Yeah.
How to make a rigid body that floats, detects a track, floats on it realistically, like it's being pushed by it, and how to apply impulses and steer it and manipulate everything and how to really get that going. But that's not going to be like the full game. That's going to be here's a technique and how you guys can use it. Even if you don't use that, wobbly table. Even if you don't use that, the things you will learn from Mikey's smiling. No, things you'll learn from your insight to the physics really help. I was looking at another prototype that we'll show you later, and we had to move it from 2D to 3D because we've learned enough from physics now. It just didn't feel right. Like this just doesn't feel like what we need it to be. Let's move it to 3D where we know this stuff.
Yeah, we'll show one of the little prototype projects that Yann's been working on in a moment. So moving forward, some questions before we move forward. I forgot about that.
Melicon, how hard would it be to keep 2 builds up? Latest for Patreons and other just open, easy.
Yeah.
Just keep track of version numbers and make sure that Patreons get the latest hot code and the open build is a couple of numbers behind.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And of course, that can be released, if I'm right in thinking, as a download on the actual Patreon itself. It can just be on the update feed.
Now, there is a possibility, depending on how big and complex this game gets, that we want to release this as a professional game. That will be in a few years, probably, depending on how much time we can spend on it. But then the real question becomes, okay, so we're releasing this on Steam. And if we release it on Steam, then we need help because now we have to rewrite the whole thing with a special version of Godot that has the Steam API in. We need to figure out, what
plugins it can be quite complex, can't it?
At which point we might come to another crowdfunding thing.
Yeah,
but crowdfunding for a game with a much bigger project is a very different proposition to crowdfunding for a course.
Yeah,
because more people want to play games than learn how to make them.
Yeah, and I think that would be a way of approaching Mag Racer 2.0 in the future.
Yep.
That would be a brilliant way. Do we have any other questions? I was about to ask whether planned mini course. So upcoming stuff. What are we going to be working on over the next 6 months? Let's say 6 months or so. So I have been sitting down and planning a refresh of a mega blender course, one that will be a creative series of smaller courses so they can be more focused for people and not darting about all over the place. So I've kind of tabulated it and realized that I could be doing up to 18 different courses, but they'll be varying lengths. So they could be from sort of 3 hours or so covering a topic, but we don't want to take it too in depth, or they could be 8 hours of modeling, for instance. And one of the things that I've been looking at is making sure I have a holistic approach over the entire of Blender, because it can do so many things. People forget it's really a suite of software bound together looking as one thing, and it can be a real challenge to try and get into something like simulations or the grease pencil or hard surface modeling. In fact, I'll read out the list I've got in front of me. This is simple. So the first course that I'll be putting out will be of a length. I'm not quite sure how it will be at the moment, but it'll be actually free for everyone. So it'll be something to get real beginners just into Blender. I don't think that is too much to ask for. Some free, concise content taking people through a journey. Then we've got things like block modeling, curves, sculpting, materials, textures, lighting, rendering, particle systems, rigging, animation, composition, compositing. I did not write that down correctly. Oh, we're not making music in Blender. Motion graphics is one of the things that I've been playing with. That's really exciting. Video editing, it can be done. Wouldn't recommend it, but you can put all your camera clips together and render them out before then using a different video editing package. We've got simulations, things exploding, smoke, fire, water. The grease pencil that I've mentioned before. The grease pencil has come on so much since you could you can do a 2D animation now in Blender.
People have.
It's phenomenal what it's been able to do, yeah. And then we've got things like hard surface modeling, procedural shaders. I really want to dive deep into that, and Python as well. Really focusing on a good chunk of using Python from a beginner's standpoint. So there may even be, this is me spitballing here, but there may even be a small Python course, a sort of introduction to Python, to get you up and running to do the Blender Python, because even though it's using Python as the language, it is still Blender and calling the Blender APIs.
And I think the Python thing should be the Jelly's Sanity Memorial thing, because I know how much he enjoys Python.
Yes. We should
we have some questions and comments coming in. Yann, did you ever take a look at the CI/CD link? I did, Packhost. It's a little beyond my ken right now. Currently, I don't use Git at the command line. I use third-party software.
30 seconds to go.
So I've not experimented with what we could do with it. It seems cool. I don't know that it actually saves me, in my particular case, much time. Chris says, a mini course on Game.io would be very interesting too. It would. I could do something simple. It'd be great to get a specialist in to do something like that. I know some people who are specialists in that. I don't think right now they have the time or the bandwidth to do the course, but it's on our radar.
Yeah, there are plenty of ways of doing AI. We've not funded. Unfortunately, we were right on that, so never mind.
Look, we always knew it was a possibility.
Yeah.
We have a plan.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Blender can do things like rotoscoping, green screening, or chroma keying. It can do a load of
So Kaiser makes an interesting point. Kaiser says, I'm more of a fan of specific courses than of wide general big courses. Good news, the plan we have going for our big courses, Blender and God of 4, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is we don't make one giant course. We make a bundle of smaller courses that support each other. So if you don't want to learn, for example, video editing in Blender, you don't have to buy that module.
No.
And if you get the bundle, you get it for free. But if you just want, like, say you just want hard modeling, just get that one.
Exactly. And I think structuring the courses like that as well is going to be really good for someone who's been through the mill when it comes to modeling and really wants to learn about texturing. Well, you'll be getting models, not UV unwrap because we need to learn that, but models that you can start processing straight away. Then there will be bits and bobs of all of these courses scattered amongst each other because you want to share your work. So you might want to render something out with some basic lighting in it, but we won't go into depth in the lighting. That'll obviously be in the lighting part of the course. So there will be a bit of rendering and light setup, maybe even applying materials, but they're really basic fundamental things that take like one lecture to actually teach. So that's not
so
an
the
issue.
Plan is I think Blender is, I know Blender is the next major, I guess, suite of courses, bundle of courses. And we're planning on starting production on that next month. I say we, Michael's taking lead on that.
Yeah.
He does have, and I don't know how much we can talk about this, some guests who will be taking, or who are happy to take certain modules.
Yes, so that's going to be quite fun. I won't mention names at the moment because they've not signed on the dotted line, so to speak. But I've got someone who's really keen on teaching the procedural shaders. They've done some absolutely amazing stuff in November, which is it's still going on. It's still November, so it's still going on. Absolutely phenomenal, and they'll be teaching, fingers crossed, the introduction to proceduralism with materials in Blender. And I've got someone interested in teaching an introduction to hard surface modeling as well. So hopefully we can get those on board. So it'd be great to have a mixture of teachers in there as well.
And one of the great benefits of doing like a modular based suite of courses that you can take as one giant course or just as specialist courses is we can bring in specialists where we know people with better expertise in that field than we have.
Exactly.
My next big course or suite of courses will be Godot 4, probably, unless something huge comes up in the meantime. I can't give a timeline on that because, as most of you know, Godot 4.0 is still very much in alpha and is not ready to be released. Like, we're still on nightly builds.
Yeah.
There's some great stuff coming, and I'm looking to make this a long series of courses that cover everything from, basic coding in Godot through to making intricate 3D games, the 2D games and platformers and whatever else we want to put in there. And I really want to spend time looking at things like their collision-based particle system, which just looks so cool. Their new lighting system, the new pathfinding system. Yeah. Any 2D art courses in planning? Currently, we don't have anything firmly planned, but it is something that we keep talking about.
Yes, it comes down to time at the end of the day and demand. I want to just talk for a few moments on, if you imagine those beginning modules that we were talking about earlier with the Blender course, and indeed the grease pencil, yes, 2D art, grease pencil, it's kind of 3D 2D stuff because you can draw three-dimensional curves in space, but essentially using the grease pencil, that might in turn become a 2D type course from that. It won't really be for game assets at that particular point. So I've got Critter. I've got a whole board. Look, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the board, my Trello board, and I'll let you guys have access to it.
When you say clean up, what have you put up on there?
I don't know. That's why I need to check. You've got access to it too. You might put something up there. So yeah, I've got a Trello board with just a mind dump of all of the different things I'd love to be able to teach. So I think actually opening that up so you guys can have a look and actually comment on it will give me a good idea as to who's excited about what, and indeed maybe ideas about projects that you'd be excited with.
Yeah, I just want to help cover Jelly as well. Jelly is not who we're talking about when we're saying we've got people coming in to do courses. None of these people are people we currently are talking to or in this channel. This is outside people that we know in other fields.
They might be watching and not said hello. If you're watching, hello. You know who you are.
And if you're not watching, hi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so one of the ideas that I'm thinking about doing when it comes to let's say texturing, so that sort of 3 to 8 hour focus on texturing will be, I think we'll be able to cover most of the basics with texturing at that point, but it also lends to maybe that being an introductory section on a bigger texturing course, things that are far more advanced, like using UDIMs and I don't know, it can cover lots of things. I haven't been through a syllabus at the moment, but yeah, UDIMs would be a great example. Creating things like trim sheets for your models, actually creating them rather than just using them. So there's a lot of in-depth stuff we can go into, and maybe that particular part of the creative series is the beginning module of a more advanced course, so we can cover the breadth of things. And of course, I'm just talking about Blender here. This may be able to be applied to Godot as well. For instance, there may be a beginner AI section in a Godot series course, and then we take that as the introduction to AI and put it in so we can go a deep dive with AI. And then if you want to really focus on AI, you can. And if you really want to focus on just having a general knowledge of the package, you can also do that. It's the best of both worlds. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of planning as well, because we need to be able to make sure that these all, that they mesh together properly. Otherwise, they will feel just disjointed.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of texturing, I've got some smaller courses in planning that I'll be working on soon. I don't have specific timelines like we do with Blender, where we're starting production in a few weeks, but one of them is Substance Painter, because I've been looking at it anyway, and it'd be fun to do a quick introduction to, right? This is not a deep dive, get a certification, postdoctoral degree in Substance Painter. That thing is crazy powerful.
Yeah.
Another thing, I started work on a very simple local multiplayer, 4 people on 1 keyboard, 2D racer. And I in no way got scope creep.
Do you want? Is this
Yeah.
a nice lead up to Yann going to show us now what he's been playing with? Let's have a look.
Hang on a minute. I need to move you over there. Flap. And make this big. Uh-oh. Sharing my screen. Okay, so we have 4 people on a split screen multiplayer. So there's blue, there's red, all on 1 keyboard. There's green, and there's purple. Green can go through boxes. Yeah, I spelt purple wrong so many times. I just got bored with it and changed how it works. The nice thing about this is I want to make something that's very simple and silly and local multiplayer and 4 people yelling at each other on a keyboard. But because of the way that I've set this up, if we had just 2 people, we could just do that. And right, if we have 4 people, we could split it that way. That's 3 people. That's 1 person. That's 2. And I've just been doing a little bit of work today on getting the bounciness. Oh, stop. I'm trying to show that. Here. These are the shock absorbers. They're too powerful. But I've just been trying to get the handling to feel a little bit like a Formula One. But it's a very simple, quick little course on how to make a little game like this. And we have all these other vehicles we can bring in. And I can talk about how to make the different stats for it. This is all done with grid mapping, so you can just paint the level, put some basic race logic in, nothing as complicated as Mag Racer, no AI, just a quick, simple little party game. That's what I'm planning on doing here. Let me restart this so we can have some better thingamies. Let me press the wrong button there. I don't think you do. Oh, hang on. I pressed the wrong button. Everybody. Everybody's fine. Yeah, I had to put that in because I kept flying off the edge while I was trying to get the speed right. It's a very simple script. I've just got a maximum speed defined. No one can hear Mikey. We've got collision in here. We've got basic shocks. I put ramps in to test it.
It's okay. I wasn't saying anything important. I was taking the mick. It's phenomenal, though.
I could put in a damage system because we can put little pit in there. So, I mean, not bad for a day's work.
That's nice.
Because this was a 2D game yesterday, and I got a little bit of scope creep.
Then your camera fell over and revealed the 3D world.
To 4 players on 1 keyboard. Are you a quadrupus? I'm actually an octopus, but I have to use 2 tentacles for each player. And then I fall over because I'm not supporting my own weight.
Wow, that's quite spread out. I take it you're using WASD, IJKL, and the 2 sets of cursor keys?
Exactly right. Although on the number pad, I'm not using the rear thing. I'm using 8, 4, 5, 6 because then it's the same finger layout as all the others.
Ah, very good. I just want to address Metacon's question. I noticed the UE4 channel. Is there any over on the Discord? Are there any plans to branching out to that? So I love lots of the game engines, and they all vary. And it's undeniable that UE4 is pretty. It is a very pretty engine, and I've been playing around quite a bit. This was a few months back. I got excited about tessellation because in Blender you can have real-time displacement of your geometry. And I remember installing a pack a few years ago on Skyrim, I think it was, and it added decent tessellation into the game, so the models looked far more like they had far more geometry than they actually had. And I started playing about with the materials in Unreal at this point because I was playing with there, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But I was running Linux at the time, and I prototyped on my laptop and came back to my desktop, and I was like, why is it not working? I'm pretty sure everything was right. It turns out that at the time, I don't know if it's the same now, but Tessellations, it just wasn't available on Linux. The
Yep.
NVIDIA driver just didn't support it. I was like, oh no, this is terrible. So I scrapped the project at the time because I'd done all that prep in there. But yes, in short, we don't necessarily need to stick to Blender and Godot. Obviously, that's our two fortes. But we can have many more fortes. Yeah, that's how it's said.
Some comments. Is Mikey talking? That's an old one. That would be 3 racing games in a row. We need new genres. Well, first, Gotta Get Away was not a racing game. Secondly, Mag Racer is not a course. So really, this is 1 racing game in a row. And possibly a Demolition Derby game. Oh, look, a change of topic. Pakosh, this looks right for a Super Mario Kart clone. I don't think damage system will fit the other person next to you, possibly.
You can just hit the person next to you. Get him out of.
Yep.
That actually looked like I was hitting Yann. I didn't realise.
Roderick says, yesterday 2D, today 3D, tomorrow 4D. A 4D racing game. One where you can move back in time. And that sounds really complicated. That's scope creep.
That's really good with simulation games, where if you clip a corner, being able to rewind and not total your car on the last lap is kind of fun.
My gosh. EU4 and Linux, not cool to set up or support. Agreed. I love playing games on Unreal. I'll be honest. The few times I've installed it and just looked around, I've gotten so lost. I got a little bit puzzled by Unity, and the first time I opened Godot, it just clicked, which is why I fell for Godot.
Yeah.
All 3 engines are phenomenal, but just as a sort of personal skill set, I don't have those currently. Time rewind does not work well in multiplayer. It's true, because people get very annoyed if you.
Well,
if you move
the one main reason that multiplayer is difficult is timing and making sure that everybody is synced up. So being able to go back in time and change history. Wow.
Portals would be nice, though. No, not doing it. Doing a non-Euclidean racing game.
Why not?
Because the idea is to make a short, simple.
Come on, everybody! 3, 2, 1. Scope creep.
This is actually very similar to the kart game I made a little while back. It won't be as involved as some of the things involved in that. I'm not planning customization, although I am planning vehicle selection, because the pack I have has those races, but it also has a fire engine, which I believe in America is called aluminium. It has an ambulance, it has a tractor, it has a police car, it has a police tractor. Because of reasons.
Yeah, that made me laugh when I saw that. But yeah, in general, I think that focusing on what we're really good at the moment is key, and then branching out into other things, whether it's Substance Painter, like Yann said earlier, whether it's a tipple into UE4 or Unity or wherever. There's certainly space for it. And there's a question from Kaiser here about any incursion into the VR realm. My computer can just about run VR. I've got a 1080. I think 1060 was the minimum. Perhaps we can set up like a YouTube channel of you playing VR whilst the cats murder you.
Not. I think no. I am not hitting my cats and then being mauled for your entertainment.
I wasn't suggesting you do anything to the cats.
Well, if I'm moving my arms around with a thing over my head.
Yeah. So VR is really exciting. It's incredibly niche at the moment. We hear lots about it, which is really great. I don't have a kit. I presume Yann doesn't have a kit since we last spoke about it. So really, we don't have the development tools yet either in order to do that.
That said, check out what Bastian is doing on his YouTube channel.
Yes, he's got some phenomenal stuff there on the VR.
His YouTube stuff is amazing. Bastian Olish.
Am I right in saying that he's writing the plugin for Godot, and it's
As far
VR.
as I know.
Yeah, they're not calling it VR though. He's just changed the name to XR, I believe.
I Yes, I haven't been following the VR stuff or the AR stuff.
I mean, it looks exciting, but it is extremely expensive at the moment. I know it's come down with like the Oculus Quest 2 is now like £300. So maybe it's not quite as expensive as it used to be. So there is that. You know, it is coming down in price. But still, that's just one component on your computer. I mean, I shiver spending that much on like a monitor or something, let alone something that's very niche. I think the resolution needs to come up a bit more than what it currently
have
is.
pretty decent computers because if you're going to be editing video in bulk, you kind of need one.
Yeah.
Because even with DaVinci Resolve, which is my go-to video editor, which is amazing, just the render speed on that thing is incredible, especially if you get the paid version, where a 10-minute video will render in 5 minutes, which is unheard of. Like when we were using the previous software in other companies, that was a 40-minute render.
Yeah, Camtasia was was so slow. It would only use a few of the multi-cores that I had. And I've tried Premiere. That was reasonably quick.
Fun. I mean, it's a great piece of software.
So yeah, video editing software aside, what ultimately matters is that the videos come out high quality for you guys to watch. That's the main thing.
And here, because good sound is important.
Yes, very much so.
I don't have a name for this racing thing.
Anybody want to suggest a name? Do you want to play it again so people can see it and, well, try and work out something from there? Let's go make you full screen again. There we go. Perfect.
I'm just going to take one car for a drive this time.
Nice, nice.
It's going to be Proople. Come on, Proople. No brakes.
Have you not mapped brakes yet?
I made the decision not to. There's a reverse, which kind of works as brakes.
Yeah.
But it's literally just doing reverse engine power.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm also like this steering on a keyboard needs a little bit more work.
Oh, well, the way that it's wobbling around, it's very, and you've taken the purple car as well, so it's jelly racing.
It is jelly racing. Here's some stands. There's a random block I put there just to test the collision.
Nice. I like it.
So using checkpoints would be key. There's some more tiles I can bring in for hills and tunnels and stuff like that. This was originally going to be top down, but honestly, when you start getting above a certain size in 3D, cameras become really problematic. In 2D, it's fine. You can just zoom out. But in 3D, when you're going behind buildings and the car is minuscule, it's just not fun. So I decided this kind of split screen would be fun. And because of the way that Godot's grid container works, if you don't have 4 players, if you just have 3 or 2, it'll automatically resize things for you.
That is so neat that you can do that real time.
Just so you can see it. I'm just going to park here. Sorry, Blue. Sorry, Blue. I just got to park here. This is my parking space.
Oh, you can you could tip people over in this game. Nice.
Oh yeah, like all the stuff I've learned from Godot Getaway and Mag Racer about physics in this game. Here are some of the other vehicles that are in. They don't have collision on them right now. There's a police tractor.
Nice.
There's a flatbed truck. There's a fire engine. So there's a bunch of stuff we can put in. And of course, if people have been making vehicles in Godot Getaway and other courses, they could just bring those in. Goodness, this is about.
I like Daz's comment here. He said Retro Racer, brakes not included. But we could just call it brakes not included.
I don't know that that's going to sound great as a course. Yann doesn't know how to make brakes is a good name for a course. So yeah, what's nice about this is all of the tiles here are single material.
Yeah.
So it's very, very optimized, and you're using a grid map, which is even more optimized. The physics are nice and simple. All these cars are very easy. I've just overridden the materials on the cars in different colors.
Yeah.
But once it's in, you can start. I mean, once you get the actual feeling of the car down, very easy to say, okay, so this is a Formula One race. It's very low to the ground. It has great acceleration. It's very light, so it will fly off the course. This is a fire engine. It turns very slowly, but it's very heavy, and it has huge
You can
engine
bully
power.
your way around the track with a fire engine.
In theory, we could do stuff like pickups. We could, I don't really think this game needs it. But there's something about multiplayer games with pickups that's fun. I did think about an overhead camera, like right in the center for a mini map, so you can see where everyone is. I don't know that it adds much yet, but I might play with it.
So I've got to ask, Chris, your suggestion, is that Yann in general, or is that the name of a game? The name of the game.
Safe at any speed. I will have you know, I am very safe at 88 miles per hour.
That's because you could rewind and try again. Dad jokes. Yes, correct answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can use. I did think about making this a demolition game, or it doesn't have to be a race. Like these little blocks you got in, it's easy to put physics in. I did a quick test with a ramp, which worked a little bit too well, because these cars are quite heavy, but they are quite fast. But you could easily do like a demolition game or a delivery game, or it's very easy to make the game you want to make.
Yes, I mean, one thing to remember is at this point, what we're watching here is the prototype for like the end of a course, rather than the tech demo for a game that might be. So this is all about teaching you the skills to make something similar to this, and then you can take those skills and off to the races with it.
And honestly, what's slowing me down more is I don't really enjoy cars enough to know much about suspension values. Like, I know how to use them, I just don't actually know the suspension of a Formula One car.
So I think as Kaiser said earlier about having... Is it Kaiser or Kaiser? I don't know. He was saying earlier about, yes, we've been somewhat focused on racing games at the moment. And to be... honest, whilst I like spaceships and generally I do like racing games, but they're not my go-to game, which is very interesting that we're developing games that aren't our go-to game. So, in the comments,
they're great for showing off how to do stuff at speed. Is one thing.
Yes.
From an educational point of view, there's one of the tricks to making educational videos is you really want that win at the end of each video. The student should feel like they can do something at the end they couldn't do before.
Yeah, totally.
And a game where things are going fast is an easy way of getting that win. I was showing Jessica God, I guess because she hadn't seen it, and just the moment we hit the scaffolding for the first time, you could do that in a game, but doing it in a car is just so immediate. You immediately understand what's happening and why.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one reason for doing it.
So yeah, if anybody's got any suggestions, obviously,
Turbo dismount, Wreck-It Racers. 1 to 4 non-braking vehicles racer.
So what sort of games are you guys into? What sort of... and obviously this is a very broad question, so to narrow it down and make the answers something that we could work from, not necessarily what's your favourite game. I mean, we're not a AAA studio, and you shouldn't try to be either.
And I'm making Mag Racer, which is your favourite game.
But what sort of game do you want to make? I mean, we focused a lot on 3D recently. If we rewound the clock and made this a top-down 2D pixel art Mag Racer version, going back in time basically, but using modern engines with modern physics and everything that comes along with it. Obviously, then instead of doing a Blender course to go along with it, there would have been a 2D art course to go along with it. So, thinking about that, what sort of things are you guys excited about? What sort of things do you want to learn more about as well?
While they're answering that, there's something I've been thinking about a lot recently that I don't really have the time at the moment to make, but would be interested in, is something that actually simulates atmosphere. A game like, and I don't want to make Space Station 13 because of the curse of Space Station 13, which is every game, with the exception of Barotrauma, who's ever tried to make a game based on Space Station 13 has folded.
Can you expand on what you mean by atmosphere? Because obviously something like Kerbal Space Program has atmosphere, but that's not what you
Okay.
mean, is it?
Imagine your room is a life pod, and there's a breach, and all the air is going to go out of that breach, which means all the things are going to be pulled along by the force of that air, which means you're slowly going to lose air and temperature and pressure. And those things are modeled and have an impact in the game. So actually simulating the effects of an atmosphere.
We're talking very much about a systems-based game where everything is linked together and one thing will affect another. So fire cannot exist in an oxygen-free environment or a wet environment, etc.
And we have a quick introduction to that in Mag Racer already, which is something people always get surprised when they find out that when something explodes, if you're too close to it, you'll take damage and be pushed away by the explosion.
And if you drop mines when a dragon's breath is coming along, you will die.
Because the mines will explode as the dragon's breath hit, and then the dragon's breath will hit you. I'm really interested to see actually what's going to happen with the sounds that Nua want to make, assuming that keeps going ahead. What they were talking about the dragon's breath is actually shifting it, so it's a low roar when it's far away, and then the sound of plasma when it's close, and then ducking out all the other audio as it hits you. So all you hear is this plasma, no music, nothing, and then
it's amazing. After speaking to them we were probably speaking to them for 45 minutes or so. It was a good in-depth chat, and they were coming up things obviously we had never even considered, like what Yann was saying there about how the sound can be morphed, not just playing a static sound and letting Godot's distance from it fade out and the Doppler shift and things like that, but actually change the dynamics of a sound depending on where it is. So it is a low rumble coming up to a massive roar.
Some of the things. Well, yes, I mean, sound design is an amazing thing. Malacom, space games. Ooh, space MMO games. Don't want to make an MMO. I don't. An MMO, a good MMO, takes hundreds of thousands of man hours.
I will interject there and say the one downside with something like an MMO is the cost of running an MMO.
The networking, the architecture, the database maintenance.
I mean, not just the architecture.
And then making enough content, because you have to keep people playing. Once you've put in that many hours, you need to keep the money coming in, because you can't really afford people to play it for 20 minutes. Oh, this is fun, and then never come back. So all the psychological hooks you need in there. Like, I played a lot of MMOs in my time, but oof, that's a challenge. Daz likes puzzlers. You should play Zooblocks. It's a good game.
One of the games I would love to recreate is Desert Strike. Back in the 90s, I think 90.
Yeah, Desert Storm in the 90s was a very different thing.
Yes, well, it was based upon that. But playing Desert Strike and Jungle Strike were two of my favourite games when I was little. Absolutely love them.
Phantasmagoria simulation survival games, mine too. Things like RimWorld, No Man's Sky. I've actually been playing a lot of No Man's Sky this week. Ark is still one of my favorite games. I mean, I have, I don't know, 1,400 hours in that game. Still not going to try Among Us. Yeah, Among Us looks like a betrayal mechanic game. It's fine. A friend of mine's daughter wants everyone in her house to play live action Among Us. It's like, that's housework while someone tries to kill you. That sounds terrible. Roderick, medieval strategy games, building, training, etc. And racing games and sci-fi games. Yep. Jelly's not playing Repels.
I like these suggestions. It's bringing back floods of memories from games in the past. I really loved Sims. So when I first, not Sims, so Settlers. I know it began with S. Here we go. We're completely different. So I played the first Settlers back on my Amiga.
I remember that.
I'm pretty sure it was my Amiga. Anyway,
I played it
whatever it was, I played hours and hours and hours of it, and I loved the mechanics. The end game was not very satisfying. You could very end up
building that engine was amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. Jessica says something like Stardew Valley, so sort of a life sim game. Could be fun. I mean,
there are a lot of systems going on in games like that. So, yeah.
Evoland is amazing. I don't actually know that game.
Evoland. it sounds like it might be a bit complex making 10 games in one. I mean, that's sort of GTA level scope where you can go into a casino and there's the casino games within the game. It's like a meta game at that point.
I used to love GTA games, but GTA 5 just put me off the series. That moment where I have to torture a man.
Oh, with Trevor. Yeah.
Like, I'm out.
Yeah, most games give you an option to just not do that level of stuff.
I don't really want to inhabit the mind of a drug-addled psychopath.
Really?
Like, yeah, that's not what I'm signing up for.
It's a fair comment.
Like, once GTA actually becomes psychopathy, like, this isn't fun anymore. Like, when it's cartoon violence, it's one thing, but...
Yeah. I suppose part of that is also how some modern games are so lifelike in terms of you become emotionally attached to characters and things along those lines. Not just the graphics, but because they're written so well, it can really put you off a game when you've got to make a decision like that. Things like RimWorld, I was watching someone play, must have been 3 or 4 months ago now, but they knew they were going to have to eat dead bodies, and there's a trait that you can have that doesn't make
cannibal.
The cannibal trait. But again, that's abstracted with the layers. It's not a very realistic game. If it was a realistic game, that would be a horrible, horrible game. But having that layer of abstraction and having it cartoony, I suppose, really does help with that.
There's a big difference to playing a card game and one of the cards is cannibal.
Yeah,
and playing like a really, really detailed, I'm thinking like modern military shooter level of detail where you have to actually carve up bodies. Like, no.
Nope. GTA 6 will be by Canopy Games. Yes. We are secretly Rockstar.
Yes, I don't want to get sued by Rockstar. I really don't. Isket doesn't either. He's meowing at me.
Nope. Yeah, some of the games, but I like simple games. I think that's key. A lot of time these days when you're designing a game, it's very easy to get scope creep and forget your core mechanic.
I like simple and like complex. I mean, No Man's Sky is not simple.
But the gameplay loop isn't
building build simple because you need to get your handle into your hands. You need to get a handle on what you're actually doing rather than distract yourself with a whole bunch of other things. When you've got a whole bunch of different variables going on and it doesn't feel quite right, it's very hard to know what it is. But if you nail down this one, then it goes from there. Like, I know what the problem is with the bounciness on those cars. I just don't want to fix it while we're talking because I can't do both at the same time. But if I was trying to do that and design the course and change the engine power and all the other things, it's very easy to get lost in the weeds.
Very much so. One thing to mention, by the way, is even though the Kickstarter has ended, we will still be doing these live streams every week. We sat down and we thought, well, should we drop it back down to 2 weeks? And then Yann brought up a very good point, which is, well, we forget which week it is, and that does happen. If you've got 1 week on, 1 week off, and you're so busy, it can be difficult to remember. So we'll still be doing these weekly. The time isn't set in stone. Obviously, everybody's getting used to it being our 7 p.m. But I understand that's not good for everybody in the world. So there is a possibility that it will change, but for the moment, it'll still remain at 7 p.m. our time. And did you know? If you type that into Google, it'll tell you the time where you are.
I do know, because you mention that every week.
That's why I said it again. I was so happy when I discovered that. I was like, that is brilliant. It saves, going off to time conversion sites and everything else, providing Google's behaving, of course. Yeah, Alien Breed, that I love that. That was an absolutely amazing game. What was the game that, this is going back quite a while, Chaos Engine? Can you remember Chaos Engine? I think it was called Chaos Engine anyway. Where it was best played with 2 people.
Are you thinking of Mario?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, Yeah, shooter games. I've played a modern version of Alien Breed, and what I call a modern version of Alien Breed. Action games like that are fun. I think there's a lot of
Yes.
merit in the games you can pick up, and you don't have to remember what's happened. You don't have to care about the future either. You just pick it up and play it.
Although there is a reason we didn't do that, because actually I started work on a top-down twin-stick shooter about a year ago,
Yes.
and it wasn't fun because we didn't have the sound effects.
Mm.
And when you're actually just making it just as a game, it's like,
Yeah.
well, the skill is useful, but there's no quick win here. There's no, this feels awesome. Because actually, the awesome comes in at the end, where you put in what's often called the game juice, right? The little camera shakes and the sounds and the flashy lights and the things like that. That's what makes those games really memorable. Whether it's Smash TV or, that's good, or what's that one by Paradox? Helldivers.
Yes, that's a lot.
Which
of
is
fun.
amazing. But a lot of that is in the detail.
Well, zombies.
High Slices I was very proud of, and I'd like to make something a little bit more polished in the next course, based on that kind of idea.
Yeah, I mean, 2D Splinter Cell essentially.
With the new pathfinding as well that's coming in God of 4,
Oh,
where it'll
yes.
automatically search out obstacles and work around them, is very cool.
Great template. Yeah, I really love my zombie games at the moment. I don't know why. I just do. And survival. I do like it when, and this is just me personally, when you have one life in the game. So
Worms is amazing.
Worms. Oh.
I remember when Worms first came out in the 90s. I was playing that on. It was my first PC, and I got really, really, really good with the bat rope. And I would drive people nuts when I was playing online because I could get from one end of the level to the other, drop dynamite, and then swing all the way back to my nice little foxhole in the time.
That is
and
nice.
It would just irritate
really
me.
Nice. Well, thanks everybody for the ideas there. It's great to see what you guys are into as well in terms of gaming and what you'd like to learn about.
And I think we've got one more thing to talk about, Mike. You have something to go live today. Not a course, but a thing.
Ah, yes, the thing.
We should talk about that before we run out of time.
We should do. And Yann and I are going to be working on it for a little bit just after the stream. But one of the things...
Bits of the bathroom.
Yes. Quick. Anyway, so what we are going to do is... Obviously, lifetime backers and talking to them, we realise that they really want to support what we're doing. So we're going to open that up as an option. We're not just going to have it as a Kickstarter only thing. We're going to have it as a general option and enabling you to get all past courses and future ones. It will also give you early access to that as well. So if you want to be part of Canopy's Games' growth and help support us and help guide the direction. So we will take on your feedback first of all. That's always good because you'll have access to the lectures as they're coming out. So any lifetime backers did we do lifetime backers with Godot Getaway? I can't remember. I think we did.
No.
Okay.
We didn't have any courses to put in a lifetime.
This is very true.
We talked about it. It was like, well, let's have at least one course before we tell them you can get all our past courses for free.
Lifetime, not backers, but lifetime access is going to be available for everybody who wants it. It'll be the same price as it was in the Kickstarter, so there's no change there. So the current courses, I'll just read what's going to go on the webpage later. So you'll get early access to courses that are up and coming, and have a say in their direction. It is really that simple. There's no other catches along with it.
Have we?
I will. I know what you're going to ask. If we're going to host other people's courses on our site, we'll negotiate a deal with them, and we'll make sure you're still included in that. It's as simple as that. So, from your point of view, it doesn't matter. We'll handle the logistics if we're working and partnering with other people. Obviously, they need to be remunerated for that. So the current courses, obviously, we've got the Godot Getaway. We've got our free courses as well. They're obviously bundled in there. Zoo Blocks.
3 courses. Yep, the Zoo Blocks.
Yeah.
It's our 2 free courses. There's Blender 4 coming up.
Blender 4.
And
Really? How about Blender 3 first?
No, I'm skipping that. There's Blender coming up and God of War.
Yeah.
And
So
the idea is lifetime members, once we get like 6 or so lectures in, we'll just open it up to the lifetime members first so they can have a quick peek.
Yeah.
And then go from there. Apart from anything else, it helps us see, have we got the tone right?
Yeah.
Because it's actually really nerve-wracking when you release a course for the first time, because you think, oh, I've just done 20 hours work. Maybe this won't work at all.
So what we've got so far planned and in production, the Blender Creative Series that'll start coming out next month. And then we've got God of War. As soon as it's released and ready, there will be content coming on that. The low poly racers, I've just called it that for the moment, but what Yann was showing off earlier, and also a simplified sci-fi maglev course. So that will be again what you were talking to earlier, Yann, about flying a block around a curve generated track. All of this will be available ongoing, so it'll always be there. And whilst we're offering it now, it may be turned off in the future. That's one of the things, but you'll still retain lifetime access, but it may not be something we offer forever. But also, as we add more courses to the collection, obviously that price will go up as well. Haven't mentioned the price because I need to reference the Kickstarter, and I think it was 180 Great British Pounds, wasn't it? Yeah. So
I think it's 180 mediocre British pounds.
Dollar pounds, perhaps. So yeah, that'll be going onto our site shortly. I just need to make sure it's all linked up properly, and then it's sorted. Brilliant. If you guys have any question about that, of course, you can just give us a shout. Come over to the Discord, chat about it. Be great. Awesome.
We have been speaking to some other people about them being interested in doing a few other courses outside their expertise. Until they've actually said, yes, I'm doing this, and here's a thing. Yeah. We're not announcing those, but it is something that will be included in the lifetime.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. It's coming up to the hour now. We try and keep these things tight unless we're getting uber excited about something.
And I really need the bathroom. And I'm just singing Lowrider into the chat right now.
Great. Oh, is that okay? Yes. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for your support throughout the Kickstarter as well. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to the future now. We've learned so much from it. We're just going to push forward now with these.
Mag Race is going to still be cool, and you guys are still going to be playing it. Yeah. And we're going to do what we can. And awesome, and to keep you guys involved and try and do some live dev if we can. So, yeah, and you're very welcome for that being in your head. All my friends drive a low rider. Low rider. Isn't it low?
If I had a button to slowly fade you out doing that and then end the stream, it would be perfect. Yes, now you're singing it. It's in everybody's head. Okay.
Shining.
Thanks everybody for joining us this evening.
Yep.
Oh yes, great to have you here as well. Phantasmagoria. There we go.